Hello and welcome. If you have been following developments with leadership and governance across Africa in the last few decades, then you would agree that politics is not for the faint-hearted, and being in the opposition is often not the best position. Events in the last 7 days continue to ensure the need for Africans to re-evaluate and reflect on the essence of democracy and the impact of leadership. This is Africa This Week, and I'm your guide, Fadishola Shotingwa. We start off the day with earlier in the week. Welcome on board. We'll begin with a report from Mozambique on Monday, where officials said at least 17 persons were killed and many more injured after a huge mound of rubbish collapsed in Maputo. The pile of waste, which was about 49 feet high, gave way in heavy rains on Monday. The dump in Hulene district is known to be home to some of the city's poorest residents who build makeshift camps amid the rubbish. 5 homes on the edge were also crushed in the disaster as rescue workers are continuing to search for survivors. Officials warned there was a possibility of more victims under the waste. Still on Monday, the Gambian president, Adama Barrow, announced a moratorium on death penalty as the country struggles to rebuild its international standing after Yahya Jammeh's removal. Barrow said this marks a first step towards abolition of the death penalty. And since taking office a year ago, he has tried to repair damage done to Gambia's reputation by Jammeh's 23-year rule marked by human rights abuses and spats with foreign governments. Earlier this month, Gambia rejoined the Commonwealth, which Jammeh withdrew from in 2013, calling it a neo-colonial institution. On Tuesday, South Africa's new president, Cyril Ramaphosa, said he would not allow smash and grab interventions when undertaking land expropriation without compensation. This policy, according to him, is expected to speed up the transfer of land to black people. Ramaphosa reiterated in a speech to Parliament that expropriation of land without compensation would be done in a way that improves food security and agricultural output. 2 decades after the end of apartheid, the ruling African National Congress, that's the ANC party, is under pressure to redress racial disparities in land ownership, where whites own most of the land.
Not allow smash and grab interventions. That we will not allow. We will handle this matter in the same way that we have always handled all difficult issues. We will handle it in a way that is not going to damage our economy, that is not going to damage agricultural production, that is not going to reduce or damage food security in our country. No one is saying that land must be taken away from our people. Rather, it is how we make sure that our people will have equitable access to land and security of tenure. That many South Africans would like to have line of sight of is the lifestyle audit of their public representatives. Now, that is something that I believe we have to do. And this will be done starting with the executive of the country. Yes, we will go in that way.
And still on Tuesday, more than 5,000 people attended the burial of Zimbabwe's opposition leader, Morgan Tsvangirai, in Buhera after he died of a colon cancer. The burial was marred by divisions in the Movement for Democratic Change, the MDC, a party he formed and led. Tsvangirai, a fierce opponent of ZANU-PF's 37-year rule, died on February the 14th at the age of 65. His career was marked by a long political struggle against Robert Mugabe, and he was beaten and imprisoned numerous times. Kenya's main opposition leader, Raila Odinga, attended the burial, having previously hailed Tsvangirai as someone who fought for justice despite the firm hands of dictatorship that held sway in Zimbabwe.
My father was full of love. My father was humble. My father was a true leader, an original son of Boera. I want to take this opportunity and time to thank my grandmother, Mbuya Edwin. Magaita yenyu magatirera baba vane chipo chakadaro. I want to say farewell, Dad. Farewell, my hero. Your legacy will live and will never die. In this coffin here lies a great African, a great Zimbabwean, and a hero who should have been accorded a proper hero's burial in Zimbabwe.
The character of humility, the character of working together, the character of driving a vision inspired of and by love. That is his legacy. Nobody is going to defeat him. Even Mr. Mugabe failed what he did. Mr. Mugabe could not plan succession in his party. He planned his succession.
At least 6 persons were killed in South Africa on Wednesday by unknown gunmen in an attack on a police station. Police said the suspected robbers entered the station in Nkobo near Johannesburg, then randomly opened fire on the officers on duty. They killed 5 officers and an off-duty soldier, stole a number of weapons before fleeing in a police vehicle. South Africa's Police Minister Fikile Mbalula has called the attack a national tragedy. On Thursday, Cameroon created a new military region to cater for security needs in the West and Northwest region. President Paul Biya signed directives reorganizing the country's defense forces, leading to the split into 2 of the former military region, which is based in Douala. The new region becomes the 5th and has its headquarters in the capital of the Northwest region, Bamenda. The measure is seen as a clear plan to deal with the raging Anglophone crisis that has rocked the country since October 2017. Separatists in the region continue to engage in deadly clashes with security forces. And still on Thursday, Congolese refugees in Rwanda revealed that soldiers shot at them and wounded at least 2 people during a protest against a cut in food rations. The refugees say about 2,000 people from the Karongi camp marched out to protest a 25% cut, which began last month by the UN Refugee Agency. The agency said the cuts were made because it is facing issues with funding. Meanwhile, the Congolese refugees said they will not return to the camp until their grievances are met.
We met soldiers, National Army, with what? With guns, with sticks, with and so forth. We told them, please, we go to UNHCR office, Karongi. We go to request our issue. We go to ask them what is our issue on this problem. As a reminder, I can say that we wrote many letters to UNHCR Kigali, even Geneva, but no response. Arriving along the road, what they did, they started beating us, shooting us, as the refugees were very, very committed to advance. They started shooting on us. They shoot 4 refugees, 3 women, please, and one man.
On Friday, the federal government asked for more time to investigate the abduction of the students at the Government Technical College for Girls in Dapchi, as parents of the missing girls waited to hear some news about their children. They were unhappy that their children might be in the hands of terrorists. The Information Minister, Lai Mohammed, believes the abduction is a ploy by the Boko Haram insurgents to embarrass President Muhammadu Buhari. The Yobe State Governor, Ibrahim Gaidam, had apologized for misinforming the public when it announced that some of the girls had been rescued, saying he got the information from a security agency.
What you must understand is that these are the dying days of Boko Haram. And what they intend to do is is to embarrass government. So that's all they need to do. Their power has gone down completely. They have been pushed out of Sambisa. And they now want, you see, oxygen. Their oxygen is publicity. This is what they are looking for. Something that would grab world attention. But I can tell you that with determination of our gallant officers and men, the days of Boko Haram is almost over. Until students show up or we hear from their parents that they are with them, we cannot say this is the number of students that are left. Give us a few more days, please.
And with that, we have come to the end of Earlier in the Week. Up next is Digging Deep, but that will be after this break. To stay with us. Welcome back to Africa This Week. Days growing into weeks with parents waiting to hear that their girls are finally rescued. This has nothing to do with the kidnapped Chibok schoolgirls of 2014, but it brings to mind the more than 90 Dapchi schoolgirls recently abducted in the northeastern part of Nigeria. Amidst the agony of an endless wait, authorities seem to have stuck to the trend where they carefully ignore, subtly deny, hurriedly declare, and then shamefully retract, ensuring that déjà vu returns with history on auto-repeat. Joining me in the studio to dig deep on Africa This Week is Nelson Ekujimi, a political analyst and social commentator. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here.
Now, what are your reactions on Boko Haram's abduction of the girls in Dapchi?
Well, my reaction is one of, traumatization, because I'm not even sure if the abductors are Boko Haram. We should say suspected. Because we don't have the fact. Nobody has come out. Thinking about that, exactly. Nobody has come out to claim responsibility.
We really don't know who is responsible.
Maybe these are just armed bandits. But, it's so sad that, about 3 or 4 years down the line, we're having a repeat of the Chibok schoolgirls kidnap. And, it tells you clearly the challenges that is facing us as a people if we cannot send our children to school and be comfortable that, the primary purpose of the children being there will be actualized, that we can just wake up one morning and those children are vanished into thin air.
But what does this mean? Does it mean that we haven't learned anything as a nation, in terms of the available security in schools in the Northeast?
Well, you are not far from the truth, because I recollect that after the Chibok schoolgirls, there was this Safe School Initiative campaign and what have you. One had expected that all these modalities, all these measures would have been put in place to avert a reoccurrence. But if something has happened down the ladder and there's a repeat of it, definitely it shows clearly that we have not learnt any lessons.
And what do you make of the response to this attack, for instance?
Well, unlike in the past, the last one, where the government didn't react immediately, they took it for granted that maybe it was politics. In as much as one is saddened by this development, one is happy that the authorities have responded appropriately. One only hopes that, at the end of the day, they will be able to, discover wherever these girls must have been taken to. And one must commend the Yobe State government for, coming out boldly to apologize for that gaffe of, the rescue of the girls when they realized that, there were no girls who were being rescued.
A big gaffe. How do we reconcile that? I mean, how does a state government come out to say that, they actually rescued girls when they didn't?
Well, the truth of the matter is that from the reports we had, they had this communication with the military, and the military said they have rescued some people. And, it could be due to the euphoria of wanting to be seen as the hero government. They just rushed to press, without ascertaining their facts. It tells you clearly that something is wrong somewhere. And, in as much as we commend them for having the boldness to come out and apologize. We must warn that, this has, created a big dent on their integrity, that tomorrow, if anything happens and the government says A, people will be skeptical that, oh, hold on a minute, is there going to be a retraction or will they stand by it?
Yeah.
So,
this constant military conflicting reports.
It creates doubts.
It really does create doubt. Well, this is the 5th day after the attack, and the identity and the number of the actual missing girls is unknown. How do we do that in a school where something as basic as a roll call should have been done?
Well, it tells you clearly how every one of us has been lacking in his or her responsibility. Normally, except if it has changed, I went to schools in Nigeria. In the morning, there's a roll call.
Indeed.
Where you are marked present or absent. So we expect that by now.
And in the night, after lights
yes,
out,
after lights out, there's a roll call.
Yeah,
it's a boarding school. You expect that by now, if the school has an attendance register of, say, 900, we must know at the point when the abductors came, whether the roll call for the students was just 800, maybe 20 or maybe 50 were no more coming to school. They were absent due to one reason
and we're
or the
talking
other.
about 5 days after
5
the
days
attack.
after, we are still, juggling figures. Today we say 105, tomorrow we say 96, next tomorrow we say 74. So it's, it's a big embarrassment.
With this vicious circle of negotiating with terrorists, abductors, or even armed bandits continuing and paying ransom for them, do you think that we will see the end of abductions anytime soon?
Well, the issue goes beyond that, because life is more important than anything else. So if abduction has occurred and government is taking some steps to remedy the situation, it builds on that government, if that government is responsible, to put in place measures that will not make the paying of ransom or negotiation with criminals a recurring decimal. So that brings to fore the collaboration we are having with our neighbors about the issue of this insurgency or terrorism that has become, a culture, if you permit me to use that word. So one expects that it should not continue as usual. There must be a way out, and it builds on us. If we know we are incapacitated to seek help, maybe we'll get, assistance in ways to tackle this problem.
Well, the Nigerian Senate has warned the federal government against empowering these criminals, as we put them, because if we keep paying ransom, we are empowering them, and then they're not going away anytime soon.
I think the Nigerian Senate is not being responsible enough with their comments. The question you should ask, in what way has the Senate made laws, to empower the security agencies? Because definitely the security agencies are human beings. They can't work with bare hands. The budgetary provisions for the security agencies, how have they been able to, to ascertain that those things are made available to them?
But we do have a security vote, don't we?
We have a security vote. Well, what I'm telling you is that how has the legislature performed its oversight functions? If the security man says he needs 10 cars, if you are providing him 10 vehicles, you must be able to ascertain that, look, I gave you money for 10 vehicles, and those vehicles must be there. It's not enough for you, for the security agencies to approach you with their requirements, and you just give them and go to sleep. Anything could occur. And the primary responsibility of any government is the security of life and property. So at all times, it is not only enough for us to just talk, to just make pronouncements. We must be seen to be walking the talk. So the Senate issuing statements will not address the problems. What one expects the Senate to do at this point in time is to invite the relevant security agencies and, have a discussion with them about the true picture of things, as well as even the school headmaster and the community.
The principal. We do not know the number of girls abducted. We do not even know the identity of those who abducted them.
That is the problem.
I just hope that the Chibok saga isn't repeating itself again in Nigeria. It would be really sad.
Well, the truth of the matter is that you and I know that we don't have a data in this country. Severally, the security agencies have rescued quite a number of people that we never knew were in captivity.
Were actually kidnapped.
Kidnapped. So
yes.
This is not also different from it. So it behoves on us to start looking at ways to, make sure we have our data at our fingertips.
Oh, this is where we're going to have to leave it. Nelson Ekujemi, political analyst and social commentator, I'd like to thank you for joining me on Africa This Week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure.
Well, it feels very much like Nigerians have been here before and having failed to learn from the past. One of the most distasteful security crises in recent years is repeating itself. While Nigeria is yet to fully recover from the Chibok nightmare, how government decides to address the Dapchi abduction could end up becoming a game changer in the fight against insurgency. I have been your guide, Fadeshala Shotingwa. Many thanks for watching and bye for now.